stepmom, and she says she's crying. I can't understand her. And she told me my dad's in the hospital. And it's already racking up, guys, around 10 grand. Just seeking him as like the very first priority and have his will above my own. So this year has been one of the hardest yet most transformative years I've had in a while. From being $30,000 in debt to my dad's health scare to unexpected expenses, I felt super overwhelmed and found myself crying in my bedroom this time last year. But through faith, resilience, everything changed around for me, and let me share with you how. So this video is more than just about getting out of debt or overcoming challenges. It's truly about how trusting in God, staying resilient, and being intentional with the choices you make can lead to a huge transformation. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the biggest challenges I faced this year, how faith guided me through uncertainty, and the lessons I'll be taking going into the new year. So the year was filled with highs and lows, but starting back in December this time last year, me and Nicole, my wife, were going through wedding counseling, and things were just not looking too good in terms of financials, with the business being 30K in debt. Wedding is coming up in 4 or 5 months. And so these are the thoughts that are sinking into me and overwhelming me during December time last year. Just reached out and prayed to the Lord and just said, Father, if when you get me out of this rut and I am completely zeroed out, I would make a testimonial video, which we're recording right now, for you, just to show gratitude and how your grace and being faithful to you can lead to a transformative character change. After that prayer, I went into January, and January 2024 starts hitting it off super strong, guys. We had an event for our clothing brand where we spent $5,000 to be there. It was a Disney marathon, Princess Marathon, 5-day banger, right? Supposed to be. It's our first time going there. Spend 5 Gs. This is the most we spent on a vending event. We thought we were going to get 3x back, and we ended up making 4 grand back in 5 days. And so that was a complete loss with just profit overall. And so that was the first L we took during January. And as we started moving into mid-January through our Bible studies, we were cleaning up the house and we ended up coming across mold in our home, guys. All up along the wall behind me here. From the electric outlets, it started going and spreading up. So we had to get a demolition team to come into this house, and this whole wall behind me and to the right of me, down to close to the kitchen counters, was all taken down, destroyed. They taped up the half of the house, and we did not know that if our home insurance was going to cover it. With insurances, there's a certain criteria you have to hit in order for them to be able to send out a public adjuster and give you the check to remodel your house, or else you have to come out of pocket for it. We didn't know if we were going to be able to even get that money to pay off the demolition team and also redo the whole wall. And it's already racking up, guys, around 10 grand. And we were worried and super just stressed about it. Our house was demolished for a month and a half, 2 months. But through the grace of God, he shows up in our times of need and prayer, and just staying consistent, not letting the moments dictate our character. Even though I broke character a few times and got like really stressed out about it, we ended up getting the check from the public adjuster after he came through and checked everything. And because of a pin size crack, size of like a little needle, guys, in the window, that initiated the public adjuster to pay us out in our home insurance to qualify. It's crazy, because if without that, we would have not gotten anything. We would have had to pay close to 15 grand out of pocket for the whole thing. So that was God's grace right there. He showed up, and because of the patience and perseverance and just like trusting in him during these crazy times, that's what allowed us to move past that situation. All right, so after that situation, we head in from basically February all the way up until our wedding in May. We have laid out events after events so that we can continue to sell the product that's been sitting in the garage from the clothing brand, because we decided to pivot and just close it out. We wanted to close out the clothing brand so that I could just focus on the videography aspect for building other companies. So we decided to just cut our losses, get all of our profits that we can, pay off the debts, close out the business. We're done with it. So we put boots to ground, went to these events, and guys, let me tell you, not every event was a banger. I remember sitting there for one event for like 7 hours, just standing there, and it was so slow. And we ended up making like $100, which was like 2 pieces of clothing for 7. I think it was close to like 7 hours just standing there. Not every event was like that. We also had some high events too, where we made $4,000 or $5,000 that day, but it would all just boom right back into that debt that we owed from purchasing inventory up front. And so that pattern continued for up until May, which was our wedding. And that was still around the time where now we could slow down for a temporary brief moment. Not really, because then outside of the 30 G's that we owe for the debt for the business, we have to pay for a wedding now, guys. We have to pay for the wedding. And thankfully, we have a supportive family that funded us for our wedding. Our wedding was like $27,000, which is pretty cheap and affordable for the typical American. But yeah, we ended up still having to pay some money out of pocket for that, for our rings, other little minor accessories for the wedding. So that was a whole nother expense added to the debts we're already trying to chop down from the business. So as you can imagine, this is already May. Our wedding's happening. It's a beautiful moment, embracing it. Unfortunately, because of the financial circumstance, we can't really go to the honeymoon. There's not much budget room unless we want to continue to live in that debt. And the problem is with the debt is the interest rate. We're up at like 25% interest rate. So we were getting hit with like $500 fees a month when you owe 30 grand, 32 grand. So that's just eating at me away. So we had to tighten the ship and just throw all of our resources to the debt. That's just how my mindset works. Until you clear that debt, you're not really cleared to like go purchase or live your life and travel and stuff like that. My mindset, not everybody's. So that was May right there. We ended up enjoying our wedding, reassessing where we're at financially, and continue to set up our future events that we can come across, pay in with inventory so that we don't have to pay out of our own pocket, just to continue to move it forward so that by December, which is now, we would just close out the business and be zeroed out. Now we move on to the second half of the year now. So summer starts to take place. Mind you, I am in transition of being a videographer and starting my own videography business. So I'm doing social media work for the brand Cirrus Performance. They're a holistic supplement company. They're providing me work. And so that's my main cash flow, and selling at these events. And then all this cash flow is just getting distributed to the debts. As I'm hustling and we're staying focused, I ended up getting a phone call from my stepmom, and she says she's crying. I can't understand her. And she told me my dad's in the hospital. Not looking good. He ended up having cardiac arrest on the soccer field. I think he's like 63. He still plays soccer, really good shape, hard worker, landscape business, very active. Ends up getting cardiac arrest on the soccer field, and the EMTs come through and they give him the life support shock and bring him back to life. His heart fails again while they're transferring him to the hospital. So a second time now, his heart flatlines. They shock him again to get him back to stable. Yeah, that was a chaotic moment because it was about 3 weeks of me going there, making sure my dad wasn't going to be a vegetable because he had lack of oxygen to the brain, traveling 45 minutes to the hospital because they can't transfer him. That was also a setback in terms of time, the stress, emotional stress, having to be the kind of like the husband figure for my stepmom and supporting her on that aspect because he failed to set her up for the future in case things like this did occur. Again, just a lot of prayer, a lot of talking to family. Nicole being a supportive wife there for me, just praying over me, praying over my dad. Car rides, just continuously praying, listening to worship music. The Lord is good. Yet again, he comes through these trials and tribulations, And my dad ended up leaving the hospital totally okay, didn't need any heart surgery. And now he's slowly getting back into his physical fitness to make sure that he stays sharp and he's not working as hard anymore. And so, yeah, that was July. That after that event right there, we were still grinding and hustling towards these events, still making sales, trying to just get into any event we can, moving this needle closer to zero as we possibly can through all the little expenses. And then another event happens in September where our AC unit goes out, and now we have to fix it, of course, because we live in Florida. That was like $600, but it's just these minor little things that are occurring over the whole year that I'm just jotting notes and take notes of like how I feel and how I'm being proactive or if I'm being reactive to these situations. See God's hand guiding me, changing my character, because old me would be reactive, impatient, really get angry, and I am a lot less like that now, being filled with the Spirit and allowing myself to not get attached by these external circumstances. I don't let these external circumstances dictate the way I should feel or I should operate as well, because these are all materialistic, perishable things. And when we pass this earth, none of this stuff we're going to take. So we have to detach ourselves from these materialistic things because we've given them this higher, they become idols of ours. And when you start to grow closer to Christ, you start to see that these things all become less and less, and he becomes more and more. So after a few more events, we end up in November last month where somebody was truly interested in buying the clothing brand, ready to put a down payment on it. We met this athlete through an event that we did with the clothing brand. We found out that they were an influencer, that they were big in the fitness space and also in the drag racing space as well. And she wanted a brand that she could buy in and do a little rebranding and create her own. And we were going to do nothing with the brand. We were going to pay our debts off, close it, and not look back at it. So we decided to take on this opportunity with her, and we wrote out a contract. She gave us the down payment, and this upcoming week we will have, God willing, the remaining payment. And that whole transaction right there helped us completely get out of that 30K. My goal was to completely be like zeroed out. God willing, in the next week here, we'll literally just owe about $400. Out of the 30 grand that we owed, we were accumulating $500 a month just in fees and interest. To this point, with all the setbacks, it's incredible. And I know I couldn't have done it by myself in terms of my own will, my own patience, my own characteristics, because there were so many times I wanted to get angry, spaz, give up, and honestly just be like a couch potato and not continue to persevere. But through the grace of Christ and just me being faithful to him, to be a good steward of what he's provided me, and for me to just go and put in the work and be a good person, I will reap with what I sow. Just seeking him as like the very first priority and have his will above my own. He blessed me to be in this position to get out of this hole that I was in, to create this testimonial video. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys here. And that is, if you're feeling stuck, you feel a lot of uncertainty in where you're at with your finances, with your journey, I encourage you to pray, to truly pray. He will show you the way. Typically, it's because you're not yet ready as a person to receive what the bigger blessing he has for you in this current season of your life. So you have to go through these tough seasons for your character to be tested, molded, so that you're able to receive what he has planned for you, so that when you do have it, you know what to do with it. You won't mess it up. You won't just take it for granted or feel privileged, like you've worked and earned your way to get to that position that you're at, with the knowledge as well, with the wisdom, so that you're able to maintain it, keep it, nurture it, get it better, and not fall back to your old patterns, your old habits. That's basically my 2024 testimonial right there. Keep the faith. Don't give up wherever you're at in your situation. I know it's easier said than done. I promise you, the Lord makes a way. He will make a way for you. Don't attach your identity to the season that you're currently in, because the season is going to change. If you give up your will for the Lord's will, He will bless you with things beyond your imagination, and you'll realize you'll get to your destination even faster. But make sure that you're keeping a journal and keeping track of everything that's going on throughout the year, right? Not just this year, but 2025 coming up, 2026. Keep a mental documentation so that you see the growth and where the Lord is taking you out of, how He's molded you, and where He's taking you, most importantly. But that's it, guys. Hopefully you got some value out of this. Just wanted to come out here and share my 2024 testimonial, and that if someone like me can do it, you can too. Just trust in yourself and trust in the Lord above all else. And till the next one. Peace, guys.